My name is Michael, and my life changed forever during a family vacation, and I want to share a very intimate and transformative part of my life. Like many, I have always sought to understand the purpose behind adversities. Perhaps you have wondered if there is a greater meaning to the darkest and most painful moments we face. I certainly have. After going through a devastating event, I began to explore the idea that our souls might choose our life experiences even before we are born. The idea may seem strange, but there is a unique comfort in believing that our greatest challenges have a hidden purpose. I was always skeptical about spiritual matters, but circumstances led me on a journey of discovery that completely changed the way I view life and death. Who would have thought that a tragedy could open doors to such profound reflections? I could never have imagined that a seemingly normal event could turn into a nightmare. We were on our way to the mountains for a ski trip, something we had planned for months. My two daughters, Emma and Sophie, were in the back seat, laughing and singing their favorite songs. My wife, Sarah, was beside me, mentally reviewing our to-do list. Everything seemed perfect until, in an instant, everything changed. Suddenly, a truck appeared in front of us, out of control due to the ice on the road. In a desperate attempt to swerve, I lost control of the car, which began to spin uncontrollably. I remember shouting for Sarah to hold tight and try to protect the girls. The sound of metal crashing, glass breaking, and the screams of my daughters still echo in my mind. When everything finally stopped, the silence was deafening. I woke up in a hospital, confused and in pain. They told me that my daughters and my wife did not survive the accident. The pain and guilt consumed me. Why me? Why my family? I kept repeating to myself. It was in that darkness that I began my search for answers. I needed to understand if there was a greater purpose behind so much pain, and if, somehow inexplicable, this tragedy was part of a bigger plan that my soul had chosen before I was born. My search led me to study various philosophies and spiritual practices. I found comfort in the idea that our souls choose their life experiences to grow and learn. This thought gave me a new sense of purpose, even amidst the pain. I began to believe that maybe, in some way, my family had chosen to leave early so that I could learn something profound about love, loss, and resilience. During my journey, I met other people who had also gone through indescribable losses. Each had a different story, but all found a common thread of purpose in their experiences. This reinforced my belief that there might be a bigger reason for my personal tragedy. It gave me the strength to keep living and seeking to understand what my soul was trying to learn from this pain. A moment of clarity came when I was alone, meditating in a park. I felt a presence beside me and somehow knew it was Sarah. Not physically, but spiritually. A sense of peace enveloped me, and I heard her voice in my heart. Michael, I am always with you. This is our path, and we are learning together. It was the first time I felt I could find peace and move forward. I needed some kind of explanation, something that could make sense of the chaos that had taken over my existence. It was then that I came across the idea that our souls might choose their experiences before birth, and this intrigued me deeply. I, who had always been a skeptic, found myself drawn to this possibility of a greater purpose. I dived into books, lectures, and seminars on spirituality and life philosophies. I found unexpected solace in ancient texts that spoke about soul plans and the purpose of adversities. The idea that my soul might have chosen to go through this pain for greater growth began to resonate with me. Each new discovery brought me a little more peace and understanding, as if I were putting together a cosmic puzzle. As I continued my search, I began to see signs and synchronicities in my daily life. Small coincidences that I would have previously ignored now seemed like messages from the universe. These signs encouraged me to continue my journey of self-discovery. Each encounter, each book read, seemed to bring me one step closer to understanding the great mystery of life and death. My heart, which had been closed by pain, began to open again to love and compassion. My transformation was not instantaneous. There were days when the pain seemed unbearable, and I questioned everything again. But each time that happened, I remembered the loving presence I had felt and the messages of connection and purpose. This gave me the strength to continue. And gradually, I began to realize that my pain was shaping me into a stronger and more compassionate version of myself. The spiritual discovery I experienced not only helped me cope with the loss, but also find a new sense of purpose in my life. I decided that, regardless of the difficulties, I would continue seeking the truth and helping others find the same solace I had found. My journey was far from over, but I now walked with the certainty that there was a greater purpose in every step I took. During my spiritual journey, there was a moment that truly marked a turning point in my life. I was sitting in my favorite spot, a small tranquil park near my home, where I used to go to think and meditate. The trees around me swayed gently in the wind, and the sound of birds singing created a natural symphony. I closed my eyes and, for the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to simply be present in the moment without thinking about pain or loss. While meditating, something extraordinary happened. I felt a presence beside me, a warm and comforting energy that seemed to envelop me in an invisible embrace. It was as if Sarah was there with me again. Although I couldn't see her with my eyes, I felt her presence unmistakably. An indescribable sense of peace took over me, and in the midst of the serenity, I heard a soft voice in my heart. "Michael, I am here. I never left you." This experience brought me a clarity and understanding that I had never felt before. I realized that despite the pain and tragedy, there was a continuous spiritual connection between us. Sarah was there, not as a painful memory, but as a loving and constant presence. This gave me a new perspective on life and death, and a renewed strength to move forward. Believing that our souls were so deeply connected brought me immense comfort. From that moment on, I began to see life in a different way. Every challenge, every difficulty, started to seem like an opportunity for growth and learning. The spiritual presence I felt in the park was a constant reminder that I was not alone on this journey. Even in the moments of greatest despair, I could remember that invisible embrace and find strength to continue. It was an inner transformation that shaped everything that followed. I decided to share my experience with others who were also going through similar losses and pains. I formed a support group where we could gather and talk about our experiences, find solace in each other's words, and discover new ways to cope with the pain. Surprisingly, many of these people also had spiritual experiences similar to mine. The idea that our souls were all interconnected and that there was a greater purpose began to resonate in our small community. Each meeting of the support group reinforced my belief that there was something bigger at play. The stories I heard, the tears shared, and the moments of deep understanding helped solidify my conviction that our souls had a plan and that, in some way, all our experiences, good or bad, were part of a larger design. I felt more connected to these people than I had ever felt to anyone before. This new perspective also affected my personal life. I began to see every interaction, every relationship as an opportunity for mutual growth. I learned to forgive not only others but also myself. I realized that carrying guilt and regret only increased my suffering, and that forgiveness was the key to healing. This transformation did not happen overnight, but each small victory brought me closer to lasting peace. Now, looking back, I see that the experience in the park was the turning point in my spiritual journey. It was a moment when I began to understand that there was a greater purpose to my pain and that, through connection and love, I could find the strength to move forward. There are still difficult days, but the certainty that Sarah is with me and that my soul is on a continuous journey of learning gives me the courage to face any challenge that arises. The experience in the park was only the beginning of a series of spiritual events that guided me to a deeper understanding of life and death. One day, while I was at home, I again felt Sarah's presence. It was as if she was there, beside me, sharing the same space. I decided that I needed to try to communicate with her somehow. I took a notebook and started writing, allowing my emotions to flow freely onto the paper. During this writing, I felt an even stronger connection. The words seemed to flow from a deep place within me, as if Sarah was guiding my hand. She spoke to me about the eternal love we shared and how our connection transcends the physical. Tears flowed freely, but this time they were not of pain but of a feeling of union and understanding. I realized that somehow we were having a soul-to-soul conversation. These communications became a regular practice for me. Whenever I felt the need for guidance or simply wanted to feel Sarah's presence, I would take my notebook and start writing. Each session brought me new insights and a growing peace. Sarah encouraged me to keep living and to find joy in the small things. She reminded me that even in the midst of pain, there was beauty and learning. One of these communications was particularly remarkable. I was having a difficult day, full of guilt and regret. I sat down to write and almost immediately felt a calmness envelop me. Sarah told me, "Michael, forgive yourself. You did everything you could. Life is a journey of learning, and you are doing an amazing job." These words touched my heart in a way that nothing else could. It was as if she was holding my hand, guiding me to a place of acceptance and self-love. Over time, I began to share these experiences with my support group. Many members also started using writing as a way to connect with their deceased loved ones. We created a space where we could share our messages and find solace in each other's words. It was comforting to know that we were not alone on our spiritual journeys. The connection we felt with our loved ones gave us strength and hope. These spiritual communications also helped me see the world in a new way. I began to realize that each person I met had their own journey of pain and learning. This made me develop a deeper compassion for those around me. Each interaction, each encounter, became an opportunity to share love and understanding. Sarah's presence in my life, even after her death, continued to teach and guide me. The journey was still long, and there were days of doubt and despair, but the certainty that Sarah was with me gave me the strength to continue. I knew that our connection was eternal, and that through this spiritual communication, I could find peace and purpose. Life, with all its complexities and challenges, became a rich tapestry of experiences, each contributing to my growth and learning. Communication with Sarah gave me a new perspective on responsibility and the importance of the choices we make daily. I realized that despite circumstances that seem beyond our control, we still have the power to choose how we react and move forward. This realization gave me a renewed sense of purpose and autonomy in my life. Every small decision, every moment of reflection became an opportunity to exercise my choice and shape my path. I began reflecting on all the choices I made since the accident. Some decisions were automatic, while others required deep deliberation. Each choice seemed to carry weight, but also a chance for growth. The most important lesson was learning not to blame myself for things beyond my control. I was driving the car, yes, but guilt and regret couldn't define my life. I needed to find a way to forgive myself and move forward. One of the most valuable lessons I learned was the importance of choosing compassion, both for myself and for others. Instead of drowning in guilt, I decided to focus on how I could help those around me. It was at this point that my life began to truly change. I started making conscious choices to bring more love, empathy, and understanding into the world. Each act of kindness, each moment of connection, became a way to honor the memory of my family and follow my soul's plan. During my reflections, I also realized that I had the power to change the narrative of my life. Instead of being the victim of a tragic accident, I chose to see myself as a survivor on a journey of learning and growth. This shift in perspective was liberating. It transformed my pain into a source of strength and my guilt into an opportunity for healing. I understood that although I couldn't control all the events in my life, I had control over my attitude and actions. This new understanding also affected my relationships with others. I began to see each encounter as an opportunity to learn and grow. Even in moments of conflict or pain, I tried to choose empathy and compassion. I believed that each person who crossed my path had something to teach, and I had something to offer. This created a network of meaningful connections that helped me continue my healing journey. Additionally, I began to see life as a series of interconnected choices. Every decision we make affects not only ourselves, but also those around us. This realization encouraged me to be more mindful and intentional in my actions. I wanted my choices to reflect the love and wisdom I had found on my spiritual journey. It was a way to honor not only my family, but also all the souls I connected with along the way. Now, with this new perspective, I face each day with a sense of responsibility and power. I know that regardless of what happens, I have the ability to choose how I will react. And that choice, no matter how small, can make all the difference. The journey is not easy, but with each step, I feel more aligned with my soul's purpose and more connected with the universe around me. Throughout my journey, one of the greatest lessons I learned was the importance of forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness. After the accident, guilt and regret were overwhelming. If only I had driven slower, if only I had paid more attention. These thoughts haunted me incessantly. But gradually, I began to realize that carrying this guilt only increased my suffering. It was like an invisible weight dragging me down, preventing me from moving forward and finding peace. My search for understanding led me to explore different approaches to emotional healing. I found support in therapy, support groups, and meditation. But the true turning point was when I realized that forgiveness needed to come from within. I needed to learn to forgive myself for what happened, to understand that although I was driving the car, I had no control over all the circumstances that led to the accident. Accepting this was a long and painful process, but essential for my healing. Each step on this path brought me a little more peace. I remember a particularly significant moment during a guided meditation session. I was encouraged to imagine a younger version of myself, full of dreams and hopes. I visualized myself embracing this young version, offering the love and forgiveness I so desperately needed. Tears welled up, but with them came a sense of release. For the first time, I felt that I could leave the past behind and begin to truly heal. I started practicing gratitude daily, a small change that had a profound impact. Every morning, I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for. At first, it was difficult to find anything beyond the pain, but over time, I began to notice the small blessings around me. The smile of a stranger, the warmth of the sun on my face, the memory of happy moments with my family. These small practices of gratitude began to transform my view of the world and made room for healing. As I forgave myself and found gratitude, I also began to extend this forgiveness to others. I realized that everyone around me was fighting their own battles, carrying their own pains and regrets. I developed a deeper compassion for those I met along the way. I understood that, like me, they were doing the best they could with the circumstances they were given. This understanding brought a deeper and more genuine connection with the people around me. My relationship with the support group also evolved. Sharing my journey of forgiveness and healing inspired others to do the same. Together, we created an environment of acceptance and love, where everyone could be vulnerable and find strength in each other's vulnerability. Each session was a reminder that although pain was an inevitable part of life, there was also room for love, healing, and growth. Our group became a chosen family, united by mutual understanding and unconditional support. Now, looking back, I see that forgiveness was a key to my transformation. It was not an easy process, but it was absolutely necessary. Forgiving myself and others opened the doors to a new life, where pain still exists but no longer defines who I am. Healing is a continuous path, but with each step, I feel lighter and more aligned with my true self. And most importantly, I know that Sarah and my daughters are always with me, guiding me with their eternal love. Now, with a lighter heart and a clearer mind, I can reflect on the entire journey that brought me here. From that fateful day of the accident to the present moment, every step has been a lesson in love, loss, and growth. I began this journey amidst a sea of pain and confusion, but along the way, I found a greater purpose that guided me back to the light. I understood that, although life circumstances can be unpredictable and painful, we always have the power to choose how we react and move forward. Through communication with Sarah and the practice of forgiveness, I found a new way to live. I realized that the love we shared was not interrupted by death, but transformed into a spiritual force that guides and strengthens me. This continuous connection taught me that our souls are eternally linked and that the true essence of love transcends the physical. Each message, each sensation of her presence, reminded me that we are never truly alone. The responsibility I took for my choices gave me a renewed sense of control over my life. By forgiving myself and choosing compassion, both for myself and for others, I found a path of continuous healing and growth. I am no longer defined by the accident, but by the strength and resilience I developed through it. Each challenge, each pain, became an opportunity to learn and evolve. My spiritual journey also connected me with other people who were going through their own struggles. Together, we formed a community of support and love, where we could share our pains and find solace in each other's experiences. These connections showed me the beauty of empathy and mutual understanding. I learned that although our journeys are unique, there is a common thread of humanity that unites us all. Today, I face each day with an open heart and a receptive mind. I know there will still be challenges and moments of pain, but I also know I have the strength and wisdom to overcome them. Life is a tapestry of experiences, each thread contributing to the larger picture of who we are. And with every choice I make, I try to honor the memory of my family and the plan of my soul, always seeking the greater good for myself and those around me. Finally, I reach a place of peace and acceptance. The journey has been long and arduous, but also full of discoveries and love. The belief that our souls choose their life experiences to grow and learn gave me a new perspective on existence. And more importantly, it helped me find a greater purpose for my life, transforming pain into a source of strength and wisdom. With this, I conclude my story, hoping it can offer comfort and inspiration to others going through their own journeys of pain and growth. Never underestimate the power of choice and unconditional love. They are the keys to healing and transformation. And always remember that amidst the darkness, there is always a light waiting to be discovered.